Hello friends! Today I wanted to talk about some things that I use in sewing, and I'm going to talk about absolute essentials and then things you might want to get but they're totally optional. If you like this video and find it useful, please give me a like and consider subscribing. It really helps me out. Thanks in advance. At the absolute most basic, all you need is a needle, thread, fabric and a pair of scissors, and you can use any pair of scissors. Needles and thread come in different thicknesses and sizes. The smaller the needle, the finer the thread you can use and the less visible it will be. I know in Japan that both needles and thread have numbers of their size on them, so that you can make sure that the thread that you buy will definitely go through the needle. If you have a little bit of an issue, you can use the thing that has the queen's head on it to help you thread a needle. Let me know if you need advice on how to use those. When I'm making dolls' clothes, I make marks using a regular graphite pencil because they're never going to be washed. When I make human clothes, I'll tend to use a chalk pencil. So this in my hand here, the glue, I would also say is pretty important. So this is what I do for all my seam finishes. I'll draw the piece that I need onto the fabric, then I'll go over that with glue to stop it from fraying at all. I actually think this is an essential thing for doll sewing because your seam allowances are just so small and it's really hard to finish seams in any other way than with glue. I've never found that I need a special ruler for dolls clothing. I've never used a French curve or a longer ruler than this, so this works fine. A tape measure is useful, but if you don't have one or can't find one, you can use a piece of paper, measure what you need to and then lay it against your ruler and see how long it is. Although I said earlier that you can use any scissors for sewing, these are my dressmaking scissors. So I also make human sized clothes and I use these when making human sized clothes. These are pinking shears, so they give a crimped edge, which means that the fabric won't fray as easily, or it limits its fraying. These are definitely useful on doll scale, but not essential. These are proper dressmaking shears, they're only for fabric. They're incredibly sharp and I get them sharpened regularly. And then these are just the tiniest pair of scissors that I could find. Usually I use them for trimming the edges of thread. I recommend using pins when you're putting your doll clothes together. I like these tiny ones. You can often only find pins this small with a flat head and they're just as good. But if you're not into pins, you can also use these, which are called Wonder Clips. They're good if you're clipping when something's glue or leather that you can't put a pin through, but honestly I'm not a huge fan. I think they're too heavy when you're using them for clothes. A seam ripper is super helpful. I'm always having to take seams out, and if I don't have my seam ripper I need to use a pair of scissors. I have various sizes of needles and I always use polyester thread because I find it tangles less. This is a fray check type of product which I like to use on the edges. I talked about using this glue before that I paint over the lines of the pattern with. I think both of these products are good. The glue, this one, I find easier to use. It dries faster, you use less, and it's a lot less visible. I do also use the sewing machine to sew dolls' clothes, but it depends on the fabric that I'm using and the style of clothes. It's not essential by any means. I still hand sew quite a lot. My sewing machine I bought recently because the previous one I was using died. It has a foot pedal, but I've stopped using it for doll clothes because I just find it a lot easier to sew with just the buttons on the machine. You don't need anything other than a variable straight stitch length and a zigzag stitch on your machine for dolls' clothes. Mine is a beginner level machine and I don't need anything fancier than this. The only thing I would recommend with a sewing machine is a walking foot, which makes it easier to sew fabrics that have a coating or are stretchy. For hand sewing I like to use this type of thimble. I bought a new one because I couldn't find my old one, and I bought the wrong size. It should stay at this part of your finger when you turn your hand down, but you can see mine doesn't. They're not expensive though. Let me know if you think I forgot anything that's super important to doll sewing, and if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about. If you like, I could talk a bit more about machine sewing, but I'm not nearly as confident there. So thank you for watching, and thanks as always for supporting my channel. It really means a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!